Hey everybody, it's Book of Katherine. I hope you're doing well. So today I'm going to be doing what's called a, virtual I was like, oh, I forgot it already. Virtual appointment. So I'm going to be doing a virtual appointment with it, which is basically having my doctor's appointments, but doing it online, doing it on the internet. So this is actually great for me. If you guys remember my timeline, if any of you guys have been following me for a while, then you'll know that 4 years ago and 5 years ago, I was not able to do my appointments. I wasn't able to get to my doctor appointments. I had to keep canceling because I was not safe to travel. And then a nurse, so I was seeing my doctors maybe once every 6 months. And we were really worried at that point. And a nurse, an in-home nurse said, you should consider maybe stopping over, like staying the night and making that easier. And when we started doing that, when we started staying the night in a hotel and splitting up the trip in half, that made a big difference for me. Traveling at night was much easier for my FND. That made it much easier. And so long story short, if they had been doing virtual appointments, I could have been seen just fine. For years, my treatment didn't go long. It's like my doctor would be like, where have you been? I'm like, it's never a good thing if you have a chronic pain patient or a chronically ill patient who has troubles with mobility, if they're not making it in to see the doctor. And I see TV shows where relatives get really upset with the relative. They're like, oh, he just doesn't want to go, or she just doesn't want to go today. And I'm looking at the patient in the bed and I'm like, can't you see that even their clothes hurt? Like they're writhing in pain because their clothes hurt. It's not because they don't want to see the doctor. It's because they can't move. I mean, it's really torture when your nerves go that way or when your injuries go that way. And so it's like if you move, it's like you're being in one of those crushed torture chests with the spikes, and you're asking them to like drive the spikes in deeper. Anyway, if they had ever done virtual appointments for me, I may have been along much further, much sooner. And so I love these virtual appointments. And I'm not doing all of them with the Spaulding Clinic, but I am doing some. And so, like for example, the Spaulding Clinic is this new thing. If you guys haven't been reading online, I basically went through it this way. I got into that amazing Mind and Body Institute. Like I had to do a bunch of tests to get into there. And then I had a long interview with them. And they admitted me. And then I went to do my first day of it, and they took me up for physical therapy. And they're like, oh, look, they're like, walk along this line. And I got on my walker and I walked along the line, and they took the timer. And then they're like, now do it without the walker. And I just stood up just fine, and I just went, and they were like, wow, talk it. And they're like, that's amazing. And I was like, and I could barely talk. Like the pain of walking from one side to the other wiped me out, and it shortened the appointment tremendously. She tried to ask me questions afterwards, and I couldn't do it, and the pain had just wiped me out of walking from here to here. I turned white as a sheet, and she had to give me the walker for me to walk back. And I explained, I was like, I don't use the walker out of necessity. I can walk, but I can only walk for this amount of time, and then I can't walk anymore. The pain, I go into an episode. So I use the walker to like let me walk longer and be in motion longer, and it's great because after a procedure, that amount of time that I can walk is much longer, but it that eventually shortens up. But it's been longer and longer and longer. Like I'm now doing chores around the house. About every other day or every 3 days, I do some dishes, or I've been sometimes cleaning out the cat litter. And I've been keeping up for more than a year now, changing out the toilet paper. That's something, the first thing I claimed as my own coming back out of the darkness was redoing the toilet paper. And my husband's been so patient because sometimes I can't actually bend over to get it in, so I sit it on top. And he's been great. He's let that be my zone. And I've gotten better and better and better at it. And so like you have to work your way back in somehow into society. And one of that is claiming your own activities again that someone doesn't do for you, you do for yourself. So anyway, but that's when they saw that, the Mind and Body Institute saw that, they pushed me on to somebody else, and I did an interview there, and then they pushed me on here. So I am now at the Spaulding Clinic, and what it is they're working on my FND for pain. Like it's a pain clinic, but for FND patients, I think. I'm not sure. I know there's a bunch of Spaulding clinics all over the United States and maybe over the world. I don't know, but I know that they're really, really good. And I can already tell you, wow, like The evaluation, they asked amazing questions in the evaluation, like really great questions. They tested my hand strength, and it shows how far you guys have got me, because when I first did it, I tried to squeeze a tennis ball and it just, my whole hand went, ah, and it just dropped out of my hand when I walked into physical therapy for the first time in 2018. And this time when they did the evaluation at the Spaulding clinic, they gave me these little pounders, and I was 50 pounds on this side and 48 pounds on this side. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, is that good? I'm like, yes, it is. No dropping a tennis ball. Yes, it is. I was like, that's just such a huge thing. And they asked me at Spaulding, they're like, do you think your health is going down or do you think your health is going up? And both my husband, like in unison, were like, up. Like, we're definitely going up. It's just we knew that there's some roadblock and we couldn't figure out what it is. And the pain is definitely defines my day. It defines whether or not I can speak. It defines whether or not I can feed myself. It defines whether or not I can take my own medicine. Like, it defines how much access I have to things and how much mobility I get to do. And so immediately the first session when we finally got to work was last week, and the physical therapy lady went, we're not going to do exercises. And so smart to do that. The exercises, if you remember, I would try to do the repetitions they'd ask, and I'd immediately go into an episode. Like, I had to keep lowering the reps, and finally I was like, I can do one a week. And they were like, that's nothing. Like, that means we're doing something wrong. And so they basically told me, stay low. Like, stop going out and dancing, stop going out on a walk. You're taking a week to recover from that. You're doing too much. Start evening it out and get more movement per day. And so I really have been working on that, so that now I'm doing things around the house. Like, I'm able to go up and down the stairs more than once a day pretty consistently. Whether I climb or crawl, I'm still getting up the stairs. And a lot of times I'm upright using the railing. And that was done by not going out dancing, not doing the big, dancing on the stretch machine, but just keeping my mobility in small increments and keeping it kind of steady and staying indoors. And that's paid off. But this lady said, we're not going to do exercises. We're going to do stretches. And she just stretched one area. And I didn't realize this was my big problem, but boy, did she get it right. And it was my SI joint. Now remember, my SI joint was the very first thing we did injection on. And I was like, boom, immediately, like, no more laying in bed. I was sitting up and talking to you guys all of a sudden. And then I was standing. After 2 SI joint injections, 2 or 3, I did a full hour on my feet with you guys after being in bed, trapped in bed for years. And that was after 3 SI joint injections. And then we did the ablation, and it didn't go so well for me. I've learned ablations aren't great for me. There's a lot of pain. And then we did the ganglion impar, and I got up and I drove. So we know that that's the area that's a big thing. And slowly but sure, we've done my lumbar, and all that has helped. But she was like, we're going to stretch basically the SI joint. And I had no idea how many muscles are in the SI joint, and mostly just all over in the back, inside, and forward. I had no idea, and they are tight beyond words. She had to keep lessening as always with the things. And she finally was like, all right, she adjusted it to something really low. And all these, I have to be very gentle. And my husband was there. They make sure that my husband is there to watch. And so he has to actually watch me every time I do these stretches. And like, I remember that I had a horrible episode when I got home, but that's because we did a lot of exercises not knowing where my limits were. I was like, it'll get better after this. And it did. The next day I tried to do them. I couldn't do them all the way through. Like, I stopped, like my leg just stopped working midway, but we were like, we did as much as we could. And then the next day I pulled some abs. I didn't realize it was working my abs as well. So I was still picking up Lila, bad idea. Like, I started digging the thing, bad idea, because my ribs busted up again just a little bit, but enough for me to like not be able to do the exercises that night. And then the next day, yesterday, I did them just fine. I was able to get through all of them very gently, but still I ended up being frozen right where I was and falling asleep right there. That happened the first day I did them on my own. I fell asleep right where I was. And so it's slowly moving it. The benefits of it, though, is that all these places I used to feel super unstable in, immediately when we started stretching that, I felt more stable. immediately. And what's crazy is I was doing similar stretches to that. Like, she's like, put your ankle over your knee. And I was like, yes, I've been here before. And she was like, but I stretch it this certain way. And she didn't. She just stretches it a different way that it did something completely different. And I was like, I'm a dancer. I do all these stretches. And it's amazing to see how the human body works and how just excellent physical therapy. She reminds me of the lady who does my pelvic, all my procedures. My physical therapist is now a lot like the pain specialist who's got me this far and done all my procedures. So I feel like I have like two sisters that are just like whipping my butt and get me back into shape. And then the other person is a pain specialist. She talks me through things. And then I think the third component is what I'm doing today, which is she's a social worker. And I don't know how that works out. But she asked me a lot of questions first. I didn't know she was a social worker the first day. Today I know she's a social worker. I still don't know what that means for me, but it's just part of the program. And so I remember she was like, so you're getting assistance, right? And I was like, no, like I'm just living in the wrong state for any of that. So ironically, since it's such a liberal area, there's like nothing. It's very weird state in that way. And there's just not a lot of support. I'm like, how many people are just dying here from not having any support when there are so many different things of support in so many different states? They have these other things that are supportive. It's very, very interesting. I think there should be a whole field for medical assistants. Like if you are going to doctor's appointments all the time on a regular basis because you're trying to figure out some disease, whether you have cancer, whether you have FND, whether you have Lou Gehrig's, whatever it is, if you are constantly going to the doctor and you have like more than one prescription a month, if you have numerous prescriptions a month, I think there really should be like a medical profession or insurance should supply it because it would save them a lot of money to have a medical, like it's basically a secretary. It's someone, a medical assistant that's a secretary that can come by and do all your refills and do all your appointments and do all the pickups and stuff like that, or arrange for it to be mailed. Because let me tell you, the amount of hours that eats up. I remember I told you guys I recorded it once because I was like, this is getting so ridiculous that I finally recorded every single hour I was on the phone for one prescription. It took me 30 hours in a month. One prescription, 30 hours. And I brought in that documentation to the customer service representative at the hospital. And I was like, look. And they were like, I know, it's just so bad. It's been this way for 30 years. And it turned out that person had been there for 30 years. So I was like, oh, I'm talking to the problem. I was like, there's no hope here. But I guess that sheet and that information changed everything. We got our own personal person at the nurse's station. And so all of our refills go through that one person. Well, a medical assistant could have helped us with that a lot earlier, shortened all of that a lot sooner. I think nurses' stations should have something like that, like certain people are assigned to certain people so that it's not, you don't have 30 nurses working on one file. That's how confusions get made. That's how I have seen the accidents I have seen in the, prescription circuit. That would be really, really shored up because there's so many people who have chronic illnesses today because of all the car accidents from all the different things that it's planned, obviously. So, because it makes you a lifetime patient. And who is sick that has wealth? No one, right? So you'll have nothing and be happy about it. So anyway, I feel very grateful because my medical care, is going over some of it with you on Twitter. And I was like, my medical care today is nothing like it was 4 years ago. It's night and day. I can't even relate to it. Now I look forward to my doctors. And I always said that there is like my primary was amazing and my procedures are amazing. And then we knew that there was some other piece to my illness that we could not figure out. And finding out that it was FND just opened up my world. But then getting treatment for that FND has been a challenge. I would say it's taken a year. They diagnosed me at the beginning of the year. It has taken a full year to finally get into a treatment plan. I had my first treatment for FND last week. It took a full year. Now, if I had been less healthy, if I hadn't done any of those procedures, can you imagine how long that would have taken me? Because of me needing to be healthy enough to get to the clinic. Now I'm going to like 2 appointments a week. I'm going to dentist in the beginning of the week and then F&D evaluation at the end of the week, and I'm able to recover enough for the next one because I did what they said. I'm staying indoors. So anyway, my point is that thank you for being with me. Thank you for donating $1 a month. I really, really appreciate that. I have a ton of videos like backlog that I need to do, but my brain has to be able to do it. Like videotaping is one thing, uploading is another, and entering all the information is a totally different thing for my brain. For F&D, it's frustrating as heck, but I need to get an assistant for that. But my house is kind of a safety hazard, honestly, for anyone who doesn't know it. It's so, when we were talking to the people last week, they were like, your house sounds amazing, because I had absolutely everything. Like, they're like, now, if you can get a bolster like this, and I was like, I have that. They're like, what? I'm like, yeah, I already have that, this big foam ball. And they're like, and if you can get this, and I'm like, I have that. I have this, I have that, and I have this, I have bars on my bed, I have this on this, I have this, and they're just like, your house sounds amazing. It is not amazing for a person that's from the normal world who comes in. They're like, what is with the bars everywhere? Like, why are there beds on every surface, flat surface of the house? Why is there a pillow and an ability for a bed? But it's gotten me this far, and I'm really, really grateful to you guys for being that support as I do research for you and try and find things for you and learn things for you. That's all. I mean, you've made that my world, and so I don't think about this side of it all that much. But now that the time's come where I do need to, it's so much better. Like the social worker appointment today by phone, like there's no hours and hours of driving going into it. There's no bumping. There's no pain. And I think I got I was not having a good time last time. Like I was really bad health. It was just too many appointments, and I got in, and I think I got a little and I have no idea why. It was just a really bad day for me. And I think it's the first time I've ever kind of lost it in an appointment. Well, second time, but that first time was very controlled. I knew exactly what I was doing. This time I walked out and I was like, what happened? What happened? And I really think it's because it's the first time I feel any kind of safe. And it's just I can finally talk about what's really going on. People know what's really going on. And so I'm looking forward to the appointment today. I hope I'll get an opportunity to apologize for whatever the heck happened last time. Something maybe didn't happen, but there's the appointment. So I got to go. So I just want to thank you guys for getting me this far. I want to update you. There's more videos of when I went there. Those are coming. Of when I'm in the parking garage, getting ready to go up. Those are coming. But I just want to thank you for getting me this far and let you know that this Christmas, I'm just doing so much better. Every year, I'm so much better. And I even have a video for you to show you. So I went and took a video. I made sure over Thanksgiving weekend to go take a video for you to show you how far my movement has come. And all thanks to your support. Couldn't do it without your support. Mwah. You're amazing. Mwah. Love you guys. Bye.